Hey folks, a quick note before we get started with today's show. I know a lot of us have been paying attention to what's going on with the wildfires in LA. Maybe that has you thinking about getting yourself and your loved ones prepared for potential disasters. Well, there's never a bad time to start putting together emergency supplies, and we have a great resource to help you out with that. For tips on what to include in your go bag, what to do if you have to evacuate, and more, look for our episode Disaster 101, featuring OPB reporter and in-house emergency kit expert April Ehrlich. Find it on your favorite podcast app or at opb.org/theevergreen. And now, on with the show.
Zuki boy. Come on. Come here. Come on. Oh my goodness.
Nicole Alkane is on a hike in L.L. Stubbs Stewart State Park in a rural area west of Portland, Oregon. And she brought along a friend, her Bengal cat, Kazuki.
Look, it's a nice trail. You want to get out? Come on. What?
Kazuki starts out in Nicole's cat carrier backpack, which opens on top so he can stick his little head out and survey his surroundings.
If he's really not walking very well, I'll redirect him back to the backpack, or sometimes he doesn't want to be in the backpack, but he doesn't want to walk, so then I have to carry him.
When he's not being carried, Kazuki walks on a leash. As you can probably tell, hiking with her feline companion is pretty routine for Nicole. That's because Kazuki is what's known as an adventure cat, as opposed to a house cat.
But I think we also have very similar interests as far as just like a quiet nature trail. Like, that's my thing. That's what Kazuki loves.
From the Gert Boyle studio, I'm Jen Chavez, and this is The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB about the place you call home. It's pretty common to see people including their dogs in outdoor recreation activities, hiking, snowshoeing, even paddleboarding. But a cat? That's a different story. I personally once encountered a cat on a leash in the park behind the OPB building. The person with this cat was encouraging the cat to climb a tree. I just turned a corner and there they were, cat in a tree. I was surprised and delighted, partly because it was so unusual. Noah Thomas is a producer for OPB's Oregon Field Guide, and he learned a lot about adventure cats recently. Noah, how did you first get connected with Nicole and Kazuki?
So, like with many things, it all started on Instagram. There is a whole community of adventure cat people on Instagram. And as you would imagine, Oregon has a pretty healthy selection of adventure cat people. And so I just started reaching out to everyone I could find. And Nicole is one of the first people that actually got back to me. She has a Bengal cat named Kazuki. He's an adventure cat. And, you know, it just seemed like something that was intriguing, especially for Field Guide. And I enjoy stories that are a little more dynamic, where there's visuals, or we can kind of run around and have interesting things to film. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much adventure cats in a nutshell.
So how did Nicole start down this path of adventure catting?
So not all cat breeds are well suited to be house cats, and Bengal cats would be one of those breeds. Nicole has had a few Bengals. She has 2 right now, and they tend to cause mischief when she's not at home. They rip up the curtains, they get into all sorts of hijinks, and Nicole, you know, she likes to say she was adventure catting before adventure catting was a thing. And in 2007, she had a Bengal cat that she took everywhere, and you know, that cat was just very accustomed to getting in the car, going on road trips, going on hikes, the whole adventure cat thing. And they both got really used to it. And when that cat passed away, it was really hard on her. And so during the pandemic, like with a lot of people, she just felt compelled to get another cat, and she really wanted an adventure cat. And so she found Kazuki, and she started training him, harness training him, because she wanted him to be able to go outside with her, go on business trips, go to work, go to restaurants. Pretty much everything that she does, she wanted Kazuki to do.
When he was a kitten, I actually left him to go on a trip for the 4th of July. We went up to Niagara Falls, and like the whole time I was like, I should have just brought the cat. So after that, every single trip we took afterwards, unless we went to Europe or something, he would come along, and he's just an easy traveler. So I've traveled more with Kazuki than I ever did with my other Bengal. And so he's like filled a hole in my heart.
I love that. So yeah, I'm sure it does help to start when cats are young, but I personally have lived with a cat who actively hated going outside. If I tried to take Paul on an adventure, he would probably start plotting to murder me. I can hear his little angry meows right now. So, yeah, I can imagine some cats are resistant to training, resistant to being put on a leash or on a harness. Did Nicole have any insight on that?
I think Nicole is the kind of person to just try things. And it's just one of those things where you just slowly acclimate them. And if they're the type of cat that's into it, then they get used to it. And that's just what it is. Like, that's their life now.
Not every cat is made out to be an adventure cat. I have one that stays at home a lot more than Kazuki, but I do try to take him out when I think it's appropriate. When I'm leash training, I obviously make sure they're comfortable with the harness, make sure they're comfortable with the leash before we even go outside. But I will walk them up against a wall so they learn to follow a line. So when you see a trail, you'll see like the dirt, and then you'll see like bushes, and Kazuki definitely knows that we're following the lines.
Nicole said she and Kazuki prefer quiet nature trails. But as I mentioned, a lot of people, of course, bring their dogs along on adventures, like hiking on a nature trail. So what happens when an adventure cat meets an adventure dog?
That depends on the cat and the dog. You know, cats that are a little more bold will just walk right up to a dog, especially if the dog is more timid. We were on the trail. There was a guy walking a Labradoodle, I believe, and the dog was clearly intimidated by Kazuki, and Kazuki just walks right up to the dog. And, you know, I mean, he's not in a hostile way or anything, but the dog kind of cowered in fear behind his owner, and that happens sometimes. Other times the dogs can be curious. Other times the dogs can try to attack. It's sort of a crapshoot with adventure cats. But yeah, as far as Kazuki goes, not a shy cat.
Are there certain spots that are better to bring a cat than others?
I know that Nicole preferred quiet, sparsely populated parks and areas. We started off at LL Stubbs Stewart. That was great. It was still snowy because it was late winter. So the cat was a little annoyed because there were patches of snow everywhere.
Sure.
Cats don't really love walking on snow. And then we ended up going to Forest Park on the Wildwood Trail, and the cat was much happier there, but there were a lot more people.
I think that there's quite a bit of judgment from people, especially dog owners. You know, when they see that I'm bringing my cat to any kind of event or a hiking trail, about like, why is he here? Why is he not at home? You know, and then sometimes I talk to them, and sometimes they kind of just see how he's doing. He's kind of over here, you know, climbing on the logs, having a good time, and they're like, oh, he does really enjoy it. You know, and then they kind of become a little less biased, but, you know, everybody takes their dogs everywhere, especially here in Oregon.
So, as we have been hearing, taking a cat with you on an adventure does have a certain appeal. But you also found a guy who takes not just one, but two feline friends with him on adventures. Who is this brave soul?
Yes, so this is Jory Olson and his two Siberian forest cats, Lewis and Clark.
Well, the guy who's hiding right here is Clark. He looks kind of Siamese. And this is Lewis. He's mostly black, but he has a secret white patch that only his friends know about. They're 3 years old. I've had them since October of 2020. They're COVID kitties, and we do hiking, canoeing, skiing, snowshoeing, road tripping, biking, We go out twice a day in the neighborhood, morning walk and evening walk. They're very well known in the neighborhood. One of the fourth grade teachers at Llewellyn Grade School told me that she asked her class who Lewis and Clark were, and a girl raised her hand and confidently said, "They're two cats that walk on leash in the neighborhood."
Yeah, he went on Instagram and he just started seeing the whole adventure cat trend, and he was like, hey, well, that seems interesting, but he is allergic to cats, so he wanted to look for hypoallergenic cats. I should say that technically no cat is hypoallergenic. There are low allergen cats, and Siberian forest cats do kind of fit in that category. And he wanted to try to get a rescue cat, but he didn't have much luck doing that. So he ended up finding a breeder, and yeah, he got Lewis and Clark, and the rest is history.
Clark's more cuddly, he's more social, he's more into water. His style is to sit under a tree and look at the birds and look at the squirrels and hang out. Lewis wants to travel, wants to go places and see things. So they're very complementary, but it's kind of hard to walk them together because Clark wants to sit and vibe and Lewis wants to go places.
So, yeah, it sounds like taking two cats out and about is a lot more complicated than it is with just one cat.
Yes, absolutely. One thing that Jory has done is he's taught Lewis and Clark how to shoulder ride, because sometimes they're just not going to want to walk. Clark rides on his left shoulder and Lewis rides on his right shoulder. Sometimes one of the cats will be walking and the other cat will be on the shoulder. Then if it's like really windy or the cats are just, aggravated, they don't feel like walking or riding, or they're just tired, he does have backpacks, individual backpacks for each cat. And he wears one backpack the normal way on his back and the other backpack on his chest. And so he will carry the two cats in their backpacks.
Noah got to see this two-backpack system in practice when he tagged along with Jory as he took Lewis and Clark snowshoeing up on Mount Hood. It was pretty windy, and the cats opted to stay in their backpacks most of the time. When they went out a second time, it was a bit too sunny for the cats' liking. These are long-haired kitties, and they get hot easily. Jory says he's learned to expect the unexpected.
If you go out with the cats expecting to have a highly aerobic, dynamic experience, you're probably going to be disappointed. They get distracted easily. They want to stop and watch the birds or watch the squirrels, or they see a deer or a worm. They get distracted by worms. They see a lot of stuff that I don't see. It's an exercise in patience, and it's not about you. If you make it about you, then you're going to be frustrated and upset the whole time.
Patience is key when it comes to adventure cats. Jory learned that early on when he first started harness training Lewis and Clark.
We started going out here in the backyard, put the harness on. They would flop over and carry on like they were being tortured. Clark in particular was very dramatic. Roll over upside down with his feet in the air like a dead cockroach and cry. But when they figured out they could go outside if they had the harness on, all the drama stopped.
Jory estimates that they spent about 10 weeks training in the yard before Lewis decided he wanted to go on a walk. And they've been adventuring ever since. They slowly expanded their comfort zone, and now they even go on road trips together. Noah, did you get a sense for why Jory is so invested in taking Lewis and Clark on adventures?
So with Jory, I think it really has a positive impact on his mental health and on his well-being. And these two cats come in and just fill up his life. And now he's outside all the time, and he's doing these activities, and he's getting exercise. And so I think it's been a really positive impact for him.
Yeah, cats do add a lot of meaning to our lives.
I consider it a privilege and an honor to have them in my life. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's kind of frustrating, but I think I've gotten as much or more out of the experience with them as they have.
Well, coming up after a break, we're going to hear some stories from you, our listeners, about adventure catting. Stay with us. Hey listeners, I just want to give you a heads up that we're going to be doing a live taping of The Evergreen. It's coming up on Thursday, March 6th at the Tomorrow Theater in Southeast Portland. Come join us in the audience. You can find details at opb.org/theevergreen. Thanks for listening to The Evergreen, our podcast from OPB about the place you call home. If you like what you hear, subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, and we will brighten your Monday morning a little bit with something new and exciting to listen to each week. You can also follow me on Instagram at Jen Chavez OPB. That's Jen with 2 N's, and I will keep you posted on what we're up to over here on Team Evergreen. And remember, this episode about adventure cats and all the great OPB reporting and storytelling you hear about on this show is made possible by the support of many thousands of OPB members. That's the beauty of public media, my friends. Support our journalism by becoming an OPB sustaining member today at opb.org/pod. And now, back to the show. We asked our listeners to share their experiences with adventure catting, and you all did not disappoint.
My name is Julia Fritz, and my cat that travels mostly with me is Nieve. Nieve loves to be in a backpack when I'm hiking. It's definitely based on your cat's personality. The other kitty's name is Khaleesi. She likes to jump out of the backpack and then start walking around on the leash for a little bit. And that's scary to me. I'm too afraid that a dog would come around the corner. We were skidding up Timberline near Silku Hut, and there were no dogs around. It was a blue sky day, beautiful. And out of nowhere came running a husky that was very, very happy to see her, but she was not happy to see him.
I want to tell you about my adventure cat, Casey. We adopted Casey, who was a senior cat, and she was an indoor-only cat. But in 2021, Portland got hit by the heat dome event, and we didn't have air conditioning. We were worried about everybody, including Casey. So we threw Casey in the car, and we drove out to the coast to a campsite to try and cool off. To our surprise, Casey did great at the campsite. She never tried to run away. She stayed close to us, and she seemed very comfortable in the outdoors. So since then, we have been taking Casey out for walks around in the wilderness, around our block at home. She always stays very close to us, and she is a very trusting cat.
My husband and I have a cat named Zeus. He has become the neighborhood mayor. I don't know how else to explain it. He walks to the grocery store with us. He'll sit on one side of the street and wait for us. He's just everywhere. I often take the dog out for walks, and Zeus will either follow me or we will run into him on our walking adventure. So I'll be 5 blocks away and I'll look over and there's a cat on the doorstep and I think, oh, cool. There's a cat. When I look and I realize that's my cat sitting on someone else's doorstep. I frequently find posts of him on Nextdoor where people have said, there's a stray cat who is sitting on my porch. And it's a picture of Zeus. And I think the funniest part about those Nextdoor posts are that often people that I don't know comment and say, oh, I think that's Zeus. He lives on the corner of blank and blank.
Our cats, Motor and Sika, like to take walks, hikes, go camping, and Motor, he likes to eat a lot. And he ate our sleeping pads once. He's a destroyer with his teeth.
Hi, this is Elizabeth, and my cat is Ozzy, who we adopted during the pandemic, and he's a 4-year-old shelter cat. So Ozzy is super gregarious. He is probably the most people-oriented cat that I've ever owned, just very social and outgoing. And I think that's why he's a good hiking buddy. When he runs into dogs when we're hiking, his first instinct is to roll over on his back and show his belly and thinks that they're there to play with him. And he thinks that it's like great fun. But we always have to pick him up and put him in a backpack that we carry with us just because we never know what the dogs are going to do. So, but he is definitely an outgoing cat.
That was Julia, Michael, Serena, Una, and Elizabeth. Thank you so much to everyone who shared their adventure cat stories with us. Taking cats on a neighborhood walk or even a hike is definitely adventurous. But Noah, some of the people you met are taking adventure cats to another level, right?
Well, adventure catting sort of gets infectious where you just want to ramp it up to the next level, right? It's like anything else. Like you take your cats out on a neighborhood stroll and then you're like, hey, let's take them to the local park. And then next thing you know, you're going hang gliding with your cat. No, just kidding. I don't think anyone's doing that yet. But yeah, I mean, Jory, he takes his cats on bike rides. He takes them canoeing. He does all sorts of things with his cats. And as do a lot of the other adventure cat people I spoke with.
Take, for example, Jason Van Horn and his cat, Inoki.
I couldn't ask for a better cat companion. She really is my favorite cat I've ever owned, or favorite pet I've ever owned. She really is game for anything.
When he says anything, he means it. Jason has taken Inoki mountain biking, camping, and even paddleboarding. Noah, cats are generally not big fans of water, so how did he get Inoki to go paddleboarding with him?
Yeah, Inoki seems to take to water pretty well, but it's also the relationship that she has with Jason. They clearly have a special bond.
She really is like my feline best friend.
And Inoki just really enjoys being around Jason all the time, and so I think that's one of the things that helped get her acclimated to water is that he was on the water. And so just being close to him was enough to get her out there.
She was like, hell yeah, I'll go paddleboarding with you.
Exactly. She's one of those cats that doesn't mind water. She actually likes to swim around in the water in her little life jacket. While we were filming, she actually jumped off the paddleboard into the river and started swimming. And so we had to go and fish her out. And, she was all wet. It's funny because for half the shoot, you can actually see that she's soaking wet. But she didn't seem to mind it at all. Like, we just plopped her back down on the dock there, and she was just kind of like super chill, looking around like, okay, what's going on here? So, yeah, very comfortable with water.
Amazing. So, Noah, you spent all this time working on this story about adventure cats. Curious if your perception of cats changed at all after working on this story.
I don't know if my perception of cats changed as much as my perception of the relationship between humans and cats.
Oh, interesting.
And just the limitations of what we do with our cats. I think that's just one of those things where we have it in our heads that you either have a house cat or you have an outdoor cat, and the cat stays at home and that's it. And I really appreciate that there's this growing trend in this community of people that are thinking outside the box and like saying, hey, we're not going to leave our cats at home. We're going to, in the case of Jason and Inoki, he brings the litter box and he's got a Sprinter van and he brings the litter box in the van, and Inoki pretty much just goes everywhere with him. And it's, it's a different mentality, but that's what shifted the most in terms of my perspective on cats.
Yeah. Yeah, just an expansion of the possibilities of what you can do with your cat companion.
Exactly.
If you did have a cat companion, do you think you'd ever try taking it on an adventure?
Definitely not. I would much rather have a dog. Much easier.
Well, that's fair. And Noah, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us today. It has been a true delight.
Thank you.
Noah Thomas is a producer for OPB's Oregon Field Guide. You can see his video about adventure cats at opb.org. Thank you so much for listening to The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB. Julie Sabatier produced this episode, and our technical director is Stephen Cray. Nalene Silva engineered the episode. The OPB podcast team also includes Mia Estrada and Sage Van Wing. Noah Thomas and Stephanie Gordon did the interviews you heard. The music in this episode came from Audio Network. If you have a question for us, please reach out. Email theevergreen@opb.org. I'm Jen Chavez. Catch you later.
Everybody wants to be a cat because a cat's the only cat who knows where it's at.
Tell me, everybody's picking up on that feline beat. Everything else is obsolete.
Strictly high button shoes.
A square with a horn makes you wish you weren't born.
Every time he plays.
But with a square in the act, you can set music back
to the caveman days.
I've heard some corny birds who tried to sing.
Still, a cat's the only cat who knows how to swing.
What's no dick, long-head kick, stuff like that.
When everybody wants to be a cat, a square with a horn makes you wish you